Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today we're going to be doing an application guide and review and demo on the HALO EFX removable paint system. So what you want to do to start off with is just make sure that the panels that you're going to be applying it onto are nice and clean. So I'd actually given the entire car, so this is my car just so that you guys know, I'd given the entire car a full cut and polish the weekend before I decided to apply the HALO EFX removable paint. So look, I've done a video on this stuff about 3 or 4 years ago now, but since then they have refined the formula and they've made a big breakthrough, what I see is a very big breakthrough to be honest, and they've made it so that now you can put any 2-pack clear over the top of their base. So what you saw at the start there with the cans of the HALO EFX, it's called matte clear. So that is all you need and you can make some amazing finishes. Because you're able to put 2-pack clear over the top of it, you can make it look just as good if not better than the original factory paint. So what you notice here is I don't even need to sand it down. All I'm really doing is giving the panels a good clean down. So just with a waterborne cleaner, so that's the Standox 6800, which effectively is just alcohol mixed with water, like processed water. And what you're probably noticing here is that I actually found that the a brand new microfiber cloth was getting off some of that excessive polish. So I did mention at the start of this video that I just given my car a full cut and polish before I brought it in here to the workshop. I actually also went over the entire vehicle with a ceramic coating, so if you haven't already seen that video, be sure to go and check that one out, which honestly is not recommended because of the chemicals inside of the ceramic coating can actually react with this HALO EFX. In hindsight, I probably should have waited to put the ceramic coating on, but it was just the way the products came in. The Sonax was sent out and then the HALO was sent out. So yeah, if you're doing a job like this, you probably shouldn't overly wax the vehicle. Just cut it and polish it and then leave the waxing or the ceramic coating until after you've painted it. But even in saying that, you should always leave the paint, I'd say minimum a week, but optimally probably leave it for a month before you go and seal that paint down with any waxes or ceramic coatings. And that's because the ceramic coatings and the waxes form a sealed layer over the top of your paint. It will stop the paint from curing naturally and gassing out properly. So yeah, just continuing on with the masking, I thought I'd give you guys a look at where we're at. So as you can see there, I did just mask it right up neat, a nice neat line up under there. And I'm not using trim tape or anything. I don't think it's necessary with this removable paint. And up inside here, I didn't want excessive black overspray that may not be quite as easy to clean off up inside here. So I did spend an extra couple of minutes getting all of this masking right. So I'm pretty happy with the progress we're making, and I'll continue the masking and give you a look when we get further on. So one thing that I did learn about masking is that you should be using fine line tape on all of your edges. So as you may notice here, I didn't use it on some of the edges. Now I do regret that, but to be fair, I actually jumped the gun when it came to unmasking this car. Like I finished painting at 12:30. And my missus was like, come on, pick me up. I need you to come and pick me up. So I just had to go in there and unmask it as it was baking. Now that's not ideal, but I've got to do what I've got to do sometimes. But anyway, is straight into the mixing up of the paint. And this is a pretty important part. If you ever do want to tint this, just be sure that you don't get the binder added to the color already. So the one system that I know that has like a binder system where you add the binder yourself, that is Chromax Solvent. So I gave my mate Jeff from Park Automotives here in Perth a call. I said, give me some AM5, some straight black, but it can't have any binder in it. And to be sure that it did mix up properly, I did this little tester. So that's what I'm doing here. I've got a small cup, put a couple of drops of the AM5, which is just the straight black. I put a couple of drops of that in with the HALO EFX to make sure it's not going to curdle or something. I've heard that if you've got the solvent binder, with your color and you mix that with the HALO EFX, it will just not mix properly, because I think this HALO EFX, it's got like a xylene base or something. I don't even know exactly what xylene, but it sounds like it's different than the toluene in the thinners. But yeah, basically just go and find the local distributor that sells Chromax and then give them a call and say, look, I need this color but with no binder. Explain to them on the phone, I'm mixing it with my own binder and it's for the sake of a peelable wrap, so it cannot have any binder. But as I say, I would still just double check that it's going to mix properly, because the guy that was mixing the color up might just think, oh no, you need the binder, this won't work. So they'll go and put the binder in. So yeah, for what it's worth. And the other thing is that you really don't need much at all. So he ended up sending out 400 mils for this roof, and I would have only needed probably 100 mils, to be honest. Like, it covers that good, the black, and yeah, I really wouldn't have needed anywhere near. Like, I was left over with 200 of the 400, and even then I wouldn't have needed the 200 that I did use. Another thing worth mentioning is to throw it into a primer gun. So 1.8, 2 mil. Dylan, the guy from Australia that imports it from America. So this HALO EFX is made in the USA. But yeah, Dylan's been saying 2 mil these days. Now I personally don't actually have a 2 mil primer gun. But yeah, look, he says 6 coats. I probably did put 6 coats on, but the first 2 coats, they were only really dusters, because as I mentioned at the start of this video, I did apply that ceramic coating the week before, which really isn't ideal. However, dusting those first couple of coats on will stop any of that reaction. So as I say, if you've even just cut and polished your car previously, which I do recommend, I would definitely recommend dusting those first couple of coats on so that you don't get any sort of a fisheye reaction. Once you can see that there's no fisheyes, get that sort of coverage, 2 or 3 coats down, then you can start hammering a couple of really nice wet coats down. But yeah, I do recommend giving your primer gun a good strip down. Make sure you do have a good quality primer gun. Don't just use the old AZ3 that's been kicking around the workshop. Apprentices have been leaving it with dirty primer in it for years. Get yourself a nice big fan on a nice primer gun. 2 mil preferable, 1.8 mil will do. That's what I used on this job here. But yeah, look, I ended up dropping the pressure down after the first few coats because I really wanted to build the material up. So that's really what you've got to focus on with this stuff. Just build it up layer after layer after layer, because that's what's going to give you the peelability. If you just put 2 coats down and then clear over the top of it, good luck ever getting it off. So as I said, I probably ended up putting about 6 coats on. The first 3 coats probably count as one because they were really only light coats. But then yeah, it got a good 4 heavy coats over the top of that. And I have a high degree of confidence that it will peel off properly. Now I learned a few things. This was the first time myself using this on a car. So previously I just did it on a throwaway panel. Now what did I learn? Take your time when you're applying it. Don't have the booth cranked up too hot and just try and dry it too quickly in between coats. Don't use it on too hot of a day, because what ended up happening, it was drying on me. So inside, like the roof rail edges, like the gutter rails, it was actually drying too quickly on me, and it's gone all rough. Now look, as I say, it's a peelable wrap. It's not the biggest deal. It's one of those things that if I was going forward, if I was going to sort of sell it as a product to somebody and do it on their cars, do it on brand new cars as a paint protection film, I would want to sort of get those little edges ironed out and get something that's a little bit neater. So this was literally a last minute thought. I thought, you know what? I've got some flakes over there, some DNA flakes. Originally I was only going to put that on the front end of this car. I thought, why not just throw a coat of flakes over the top? You only live once and it's all peelable anyway, so if it looks terrible, I'll just rip it off. But it's one of those things that, yeah, just get creative with it. This stuff is really amazing, and the fact that it's just peelable is incredible. Like, it's nearly at the point, like I've been thinking, it's nearly a no-brainer to apply this stuff to your own vehicle when you get a brand new car. It's not even that expensive. So years ago, I used some Plasti-Dip, and it was matte black Plasti-Dip. When I had my own workshop, I actually did a video on it. It was so expensive. It was like $400. It was thin as cat's piss, and it took a full 4 liters to do one bonnet. So it was like $400 to do one bonnet, and I'm like, man, I could have got some Nason 2K, 400 mils into that, not even, blacked the bonnet out, had a proper 2-pack finish over it, and then when it gets chipped, sand it back and throw some white over the top of it. So yeah, look, I'm not saying that Plasti-Dip is that expensive anymore, or maybe that was just a Perth thing, it might have came down in price, but yeah, to me back then, I was like, yeah, this Plasti-Dip is just crap. And the finish just looked terrible. It really did. It wasn't smooth, it didn't look good. But in saying that, this HALO EFX, it actually lays down really nice. So even just in the base coat stage, you won't have any real chemical resistance, so I do highly recommend putting some kind of a clear over the top. Even if you did want the matte finish, I would probably say put some matte clear over the top, like a 2-pack matte clear over the top. But at the end of the day, that's all up to you. You do you, baby. But I'm just here to show you that this stuff exists. And this stuff here in Australia, I was speaking to Dylan, and he said, so it's like 3.75 liters. I think it's like a gallon or whatever. And I actually needed that full gallon to do the roof and this bit on the tailgate. I then used another full gallon to do the front end. So to do a full respray, you're gonna need like 4 cans of it. If you're doing it on like a bigger car, an SUV, or like a big ute or something like that, I'd probably get an extra can in for what it's worth, because you really do want to load this stuff up. So for my car here, I would happily get 4 cans in, but as I say, like a bigger vehicle, you'd probably want to get that extra can in. But I think Dylan was saying it was like $180 per can. So as I say, the roof needed a full can, 180 bucks. I don't think that's that bad for a peelable paint. So it's something that's not permanent. I could have turned around, and I actually wasn't sure if this was going to look good. I actually wanted to do the roof on my Corolla black for years, but I was always a bit hesitant. I wasn't sure if it was going to look as good as what I had pictured in my mind. So that was a big part of the reason I finally actually said, hell, we're just doing it. But yeah, as I say, you're probably going to be looking around $800 for materials. That's just for the peelable wrap on a vehicle this size. But yeah, a big vehicle is probably around $1,000. So I think he was saying that it was like shipping was like $65 because it's dangerous goods. That's to the eastern states of Australia, and it's an extra $20 over here to Perth. So still, I think it's affordable. I don't think it's that expensive, and it's one of those things, like you could probably do a full respray. Materials might cost you $1,200, give your boss $100 for the use of the workshop on the Saturday. You got no prep work. All you really got to do is clean the car down, mask it up, and start shooting. So yeah, probably $1,200-1,300 worth of materials, and you would be able to sell that as a paint protection for around $3,000 any day, I would say, and there is no glue. So with those peelable wraps, I've seen it, and this is cars that have been done within the last couple of years, because they're only new cars. I've actually had to do like repairs on a vehicle that's been vinyl wrapped, and it leaves this funny residue behind, and you need to give it a bit of a wipe down with Prepsol, but that's when the car's only 2 years old. What's it gonna be like 5 or 10 years down the track? Whereas I know what this is gonna be like 5 or 10 years down the track. This stuff sticks to the existing paint through the vacuum seal that it creates as it dries. So there's no glues inside there. I'm confident, and I'm like, this is 100% honesty, like I'm not getting paid anything. All Dylan did was send a couple of cans out, and I'm really excited about this, if you can't already tell. It is amazing. I reckon this is going to be a bit of a game changer. I don't say that lightly. Have a look at that. Have a look at that. That whole front end and that whole roof is peelable. You will never do that with a wrap. Never get a wrap looking anywhere near as good as that. Wraps are dead, baby. And the amount of customization that you'll be able to do with this is as long as a piece of string at the end of the day. You get creative. Now look, I've learned a few things about it. In hindsight, doing my own vehicle, I would probably take my own badges off next time and spray them maybe even separately. I think I'll be able to get better at the masking. I think I'll be able to get better at the application also in the future. Just focus on some of those little areas, like as I say, inside the gutters, inside the roof. I think I probably went a little bit dry, so maybe next time be careful to apply it a little bit heavier in there. And yeah, a little few edges, but at the end of the day, look, there's a few little imperfections in it, but If I don't like it, I'll rip it off. If it starts getting chipped and scratched, I'll rip it off and I've got my original paint underneath. Another thing I do recommend, I actually forgot to mention it at the start, is add 5% Flexate additive or elastic additive. Add 5% of that to your 2-pack clear and it's going to make it a lot easier to peel off. So Dylan actually did say, oh, don't say that because it's going to confuse people, but no, I'd rather you get confused and then sort it out in the comment section, or even go and ask him, like, what is it? Where do I get it? All it really does is add a bit of elasticity to the clear coat, so stop it from going too brittle, which helps you when you go to peel it off. So as you can see here, when I'm peeling off, it's not actually cracking. The clear coat's not cracking. So yeah, 5% was perfect. If I put too much more in, it would stop it from drying, but if you don't put it in, it might just be a little bit more tricky to peel off. But it's one of those things that Dylan said you don't actually have to put it in, because most 2-pack clear coats, at least all of the good brands, automotive clears, do have a certain amount of flex to them anyway. But yeah, look, I do recommend putting it in, and I put 5% in, and it's actually dried really nice, so it was really easy to buff. Now I'm actually going to do a separate buffing video, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Now look, painters, I recommend share this video around. I don't usually say that, but share this around to all your painter friends, and if you've got any friends that do vinyl wraps, share this video to them so that they know they could probably go and get a job elsewhere, because once people see how good this stuff is and how much better than any wrap it looks, some of those people that do the vinyl wraps may be out of a job. But look, to be serious and to be fair, vinyl wraps still do have their place. They're great for company vehicles, like doing decals, but as far as paint protection goes, if you want that vehicle to look great in the meantime like this, I reckon HALO EFX is a bit of a no-brainer for me. And as I say, being able to use your favorite clear over the top of it is just amazing, and it's really opened the product as far as I'm concerned. It's really opened it up. I've always wanted to do a black roof. I've always wanted to do flakes on my car, but it's sort of a big commitment. You got to sand it down, then you got to look back and say, hey, it doesn't look that good. But with this, it's not permanent, but it's also protecting what you've got underneath there. Now, as I say, look, I've learned a few things going over some of these badges. I probably shouldn't have. Hindsight, I probably would have peeled them off. But as I say, this section here was actually just literally for the purpose of showing you guys what happens, how it does peel off, and what it's like if you do go over your badges. It's one of those things that, yep, I will personally be putting this stuff on my cars for years to come, even if it's just something like a front end car bra. Put it over the front end, your bumper, your bonnet, and your fenders, just to stop stone chips, and it actually looks just as good as the original paint in the meantime. Also, I've been recently kicked off Facebook, so if you've got a Facebook page that you like posting stuff to, give the video a share over there. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you're more than welcome to go over and check out some of the merchandise we've got. My personal favorite is those spray suits, so they're a good quality Corolla branded spray suit with the Gunman logo on it. There's also hats, drink coolers, hoodies, and t-shirts, so be sure to go over and check out the link in the description if you are interested. All that aside, I'd just like to say a big thanks for watching, and that is enough to support the channel. But as I say, if you'd like to go the next step, then be sure to check out some of that merchandise. Thanks for watching, and until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.